The United States of America celebrates the First Amendment right to free speech and the many areas of creative work that are protected by this law. However, not everything is easily dismissed when it comes to media, especially in the film industry. Throughout the decades, many films have been banned in the US. These 5 films that were at one point banned in the US were actually documentaries, a genre in which viewers expect the content to be slightly controversial. Number 5. When you think about banned documentaries, Walt Disney Productions likely doesn't come to mind. The Vanishing Prairie, a 1954 nature documentary, was released by Walt Disney and was banned after its release. Google's summary of the film describes it as nature documentarian James Algar explores the incredible plant and animal life of the vast American prairie, which stretches from Mississippi to Colorado. Algar also reviews the now extinct animals that flourished on the prairies before the arrival of the Europeans, and pays close attention to the currently endangered species, including the buffalo, the prairie dog, the whooping crane, tracing their difficult struggle to survival throughout the seasons. While viewers today consider the footage and story of the Vanishing Prairie as a beautiful demonstration of the natural world around us, the film was actually banned in part of the US shortly after its release. A political board in charge of censorship decisions reviewed the film when it was shared with the public, and apparently enough board members found one scene so disturbing that the film was banned. This scene involved a mother buffalo giving birth. The scene, which is now seen as completely normal, caused board members to worry that it might be too upsetting or gory for an audience. While this ban was only official in New York City, other states across the nation followed along and prevented the production from being shown in theaters or sold in stores. This caused quite a bit of a stir, the First Amendment advocates arguing that the ban was preventing artistic expression, and in addition halted the spread of what should be considered educational content. After months of controversy and protest, the ban was lifted. The Vanishing Prairie went on to win Academy Awards for Best Documentary Feature in 1954, and the Big Gold Medal for Documentaries and Culture Films in the 5th Berlin International Film Festival. It's now considered a highly revered Disney classic. Number 4. As is common throughout history, media exposing the unethical treatment of human beings is usually banned and swept under the rug to protect the reputation of large corporate entities or even government bodies. That's exactly why this documentary was temporarily banned before reaching the public eye. Titty Cut Follies was a 1967 documentary film created by Frederick Wiseman, which exposed the conditions of the Bridgewater State Hospital for the Criminally Insane in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. The crew sat quietly by and filmed as patients were clearly abused by staff. An online description of the content says the patients are bullied, taunted, herded like cattle, mocked, stripped, drugged, and kept in subhuman conditions by the institution's callously indifferent guards, social workers, and psychiatrists. The film features no solid storytelling, such as narration or a side quest. Instead, it offers the raw footage gathered inside the walls of the institution established to protect the care for citizens that others would not. The hospital pushed for a court order before the film was released, insisting that the footage was a violation of the patient's privacy rights. A court-reviewed case ordered that all copies of the film be destroyed and never reach the public. The ban was quite strict and almost caused the film to fail overall. However, Wiseman fought back and proved that he had gathered all the proper legal release forms for each patient and staff member featured in the footage. Eventually, the court reconsidered their decision, but the ban was not fully lifted. It was allowed to be released and viewed only by doctors, lawyers, judges, healthcare professionals, social workers, and students in related fields. This was the first film to be banned in the US for reasons other than obscenity, making the argument even stronger for the lift of the ban. In 1991, a Superior Court judge finally lifted the ban and allowed the film to be released. His reasoning was related to the fact that the film had been created a significant amount of time before privacy laws had changed. In 1992, the film was finally aired on PBS following a brief explanation of what the audience would soon be viewing. In 2007, copies of the film were released and sold by a small production company for the first time since its recording. Titty Cut Follies went on to attract endless praise and awards. Number 3. The world of politics is complicated and competitive to say the least. It's not uncommon for certain political figure campaigns to release ads and criticize their opponents. However, an entire feature-length documentary sharing the views of the opposing side is a rare occurrence. In 2008, the conservative nonprofit organization, Citizens United, produced a documentary titled Hillary the Movie. The movie shared the history of Democratic United States Senator and presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. It covered the controversial events of her career and the various scandals she was allegedly involved in while sharing footage of interviews with conservative figures that were against her. The film was set to be released in January of 2008, before the Democratic Party primaries, as a view-on-demand special. However, it was deemed electioneering communication, a practice made illegal according to the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act by the Federal Elections Commission. Therefore, the film was not released and was technically banned in the US. The production team didn't give up easily, though. They argued the decision in court and fought to have their film released to the public, along with its many promotional ads, which served as campaign ads as well. The case that followed was titled Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission. The three-judge panel reached a decision which sided with the ban and maintained the claim that the film was an example of electioneering communication. Though it was decided that the companies could not be stopped from creating and privately distributing this type of content, it was unconstitutional for the film to be aired on TV before the elections. Furthermore, an investigation into the budget origins of the film lined up with various other campaign laws, and the ban was maintained. According to online resources, in 2010, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that certain spending limits were unconstitutional under the First Amendment, that which allowed essentially unlimited independent expenditures by nonprofit organizations. Contrary to popular belief, the FEC still limits corporate campaign contributions. This ban was, however, not as strict as others. The film could be released at a later date, although still not on TV. It could be privately sold and uploaded to various platforms online, such as YouTube and the Citizens United website. The entire documentary is now available for viewing on YouTube, and it offers an interesting look into the world of the political campaign laws and how they coincide with the First Amendment rights in media production. It's important for the United States government to try their best to even the playing field when it comes to campaign ads. Much of the information provided in the documentary, as far as scandals and events, remain relatively biased. However, the interviews with conservative figures present an unfair stance which could possibly manipulate the opinions of viewers otherwise in support of the political figure. There were also issues in this film concerning Hillary Clinton's personal rights and how much a production could share about her career without her consent or input. In the end, this is one of a few documentaries in which the ban, although light, was preserved. Number 2. The 1917 American documentary film produced by and starring Margaret Sanger, titled Birth Control, is considered a lost film. It shared Margaret's personal family planning work, obviously including the use of birth control. During the time of the film's production, women in America were still strictly oppressed, and the idea of birth control, or a woman's choice in general, was quite controversial. Despite the film not showing anything obscene, indecent, or violent, the family planning work aspect was banned in the interest of morality, decency, and public safety. Basically, the censorship board believed that the ideas shared in the film were against common moral beliefs in the average white Christian American family, and many believed that it would lead to the downfall of the American family unit. It was the first film banned under the 1915 ruling of the United States Supreme Court in the Mutual Film Corporation versus the Industrial Commission of Ohio, which held that the exhibitions of the film did not constitute free speech. There was a strong appeal case pursued by Margaret and her other crew members, but it upheld the original ruling, and copies of the film were sentenced to never be distributed and additionally be destroyed. This is exactly why the film is considered lost. It was never seen by the public eye or even a large-scale select audience. Most evidence of the film having ever existed has since vanished, and all that remains are the facts of the separate court cases. While the film covering this content wouldn't cause much controversy today, it's important to remember that it was produced in a very different time period. And while it could have been a staple in women's rights history and the background of female reproductive rights, it was never released and missed its chance in the spotlight. It's unclear if any later efforts were made by Margaret and her team. Additionally, it's unclear if the content of the film itself would still be banned today, considering the court decision. But as mentioned before, there seem to be no traces of the footage left behind, so it probably will remain a Hollywood mystery. Number 1. The ban on this film seems to make more sense than the previous entries, because it was banned on the grounds of being obscene and offensive. and it was content that may have been disturbing to viewers, rather than it being banned simply because of the opinions of others. PacSun was a Swedish-Danish documentary-style horror film written and directed by Benjamin Christensen. It was created in 1922 and covered the topic of a 15th century German guide for inquisitors. PacSun is a study of how superstition and misunderstanding of diseases and mental illness could lead to the hysteria of the witch hunts. This film was made as a documentary but contains dramatized sequences that are comparable to horror films, according to the film's Wikipedia overview. The film spent a budget of over $2 million, and while its content was admired and respected in some regions of the world, it was initially banned in the United States for its seemingly offensive content and terrifying scenes. Another great but brief way the film has been described is banned due to the use of torture and nudity. Its themes of witchcraft and Satanism may also have an effect. It was not allowed for public viewing in America up until 1929, when the ban was lifted for the First Amendment rights reasons. It was restored, edited, and re-released in 1976, 2007, and 2016. Home video and DVD copies are now widely available. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future videos.